This week on Media Delta, the OVA of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. Hello and welcome to another episode of Media Delta. So we have one that I just going to go ahead and say, this one's going to be weird in terms of what we are covering because I screwed up something. So what we intended, like what we are actually talking about, is actually something that's, since this thing came out, has gained a massive popularity, although not for this particular medium. Because this franchise kind of blew up a while ago, which was very weird to me because I always thought this thing was some weird side thing. But then the TV series of this thing came out, and then everyone got super popular, or got super popular. But yes, what we are talking about today is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Which, saying that we're talking about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a bit of a misnomer because it's very hard to talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure as a whole because it in itself is kind of multiple different things in it. Like, it's almost like an anthology, kind of, because there are several different arcs, each of which have a different kind of theme, although there are, at some point, they kind of have some kind of through line to them, but they all take place in such different locations and time that they're all kind of their own thing. And specifically, what we are talking about today is a OVA that came out in 1993, specifically talking about the third arc, which is usually referred to as Stardust Crusaders, so I'm not super familiar with the stuff, like the newer stuff. This is the one that I got into, so I would want to say that this is one of the more popular arcs, but I don't know if that's the case now.
Well, I guess here's how I would say it. Part 3 is probably the most recognized across the world, but among people who like JoJo's, Part 3 is not usually well regarded. In Japan, Part 3 is one of the most popular, along with Part 5, which is weirdly those two are the parts that aren't liked as well worldwide.
It's because they have bad taste in protagonists.
Yeah.
I've seen anime before. I would know.
I mean, I wasn't going to say that, but sure.
So the way that this OVA was originally distributed is that there were 13 episodes that all had actually different directors, different storyboard people. The studio behind it was Studio APPP. At least that is what the JoJo Wiki is telling me. But they do kind of look similar, but you can definitely tell that certain aspects have, certain episodes have a little bit of a different look. One in particular has a very notable director behind it, which we'll absolutely talk about at some point. The trap that I fell into with this is that was actually one of procurement of actually watching it, and I just want to say this beforehand so that I get it out of the way. So this is 13 episodes. However, I did see that this thing was on YouTube. So what I was looking for, because sometimes you find weird OVAs on YouTube. What I had happened to find was a user by the name of the Toa Master, who uploaded a video that was labeled Star Crusaders OVA, the movie. And the description of this basically is, after another 5 hours of rendering, many minutes to upload this video, I present to you the Stardust Crusaders movie. And actually, it's just all the episodes of the 1993 OVA sandwiched together to one big movie. That's not the case, actually, because he has another upload that is Stardust Crusaders, the Tarot Card arc, which is actually the first 7 episodes. So what we ended up watching was secondly, the back half of this OVA series. So I believe it is 7 through 13.
Which, to be fair, I'm gonna say we didn't miss much by skipping the tarot arc.
Well, also technically 8 to 13 because we did not cover Justice.
But we missed Whole Horse.
We missed Whole Horse.
Again, we didn't miss anything.
Also, that time they fed a baby poop.
So this OVA was actually the first time that I watched, basically the first JoJo thing that I saw that was not the fighting game. Also, well, before I do that, so was the first thing that I've seen of this series that was after I played the fighting game. And I remember watching it, and I remember they cut out a lot of stuff that was added on later, because after that I like read the manga a little bit, and then I haven't watched the show of this, but I've seen little bits and pieces. I can tell they cut a lot of frankly stupid stuff out of the first part. But I think before we go on, we should probably actually introduce ourselves. So please introduce yourself, because I'm not the only one who watched this. So please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Axe, and I'm here for slightly less troubling anime.
I am Carnival, and it's part 3. We gotta start from somewhere to get to the good, better parts.
I'm Torpid Typist, and I'm here to endlessly harass old men.
Yeah. So yeah, this OVA cuts out a lot of stuff that is kind of notorious about the third arc. There is some stuff in there that is really not great. A perfect example is the fight with, I think it's Strength, the giant monkey.
Strength is the monkey. Let's just, it's bad.
No.
It's bad. Let's just.
So just to elaborate, for if you're not from, so also I should actually introduce what the series, the brief concept, if you're not familiar with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So originally it was Fist of the North Star of Vampires. That's pretty much what it was. But what JoJo's Bizarre Adventure eventually became was a story about a bunch of people with essentially secondary powers that are kind of given to them by a creature that is referred to as a stand. And stands get very elaborate. Sometimes they are basically like kind of spiritual projections, I guess. I'm also not, as someone who is not super familiar with it, this is just the general gist of what I kind of get. But sometimes they're like kind of spiritual projections. Sometimes there are like vines that come out and can like do various powers. Sometimes they're all made of sand. Like that's just the start. Later on in the series, they get completely bizarre. But that actually wasn't even intentional. But
Hence the name of the anime.
But yes, it is a series that is about people with wacky powers that are all named after musical stuff.
Please, the first season was about some dude getting beat up by a vampire.
Yeah, the first season is probably... I take it that's generally considered the weakest?
It's between 1 and 3. Like, I would give 1 a bit more forgiveness because it's like, this is the start and thus finding its footing.
I prefer 1 to 3.
Introduces the stands.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like 1 is stronger overall, whereas 3 has a lot of weaknesses.
1 super bland.
It is, but 3 also has problems.
Yeah.
Oh yes, but that is something to discuss today.
Yeah. Like, again, if I were going to tell someone who gets into it, watch the anime for 1 and 2, and then watch the OVA for 3, and then watch the anime for the rest as it gets made.
So, actually, remind me that that's the point that I was going to get to. So there is a lot of, not, I think every stand in this series except for a handful are named after the major arcana in for tarot.
Yes.
So there's one that's Strength, which is a giant monkey. In the OVA, the fight with them takes about, let's say, about 5 minutes. In the actual series itself, Strength is basically its own little tiny arc. Probably I think 1 or 2 episodes in the show.
It's an episode long.
It's an episode.
that has a lot of plot about this monkey being attracted to a younger age girl that they have naked a lot of that episode.
Yeah, the pedophile orangutan whose entire stand is a boat.
Yeah. In the OVA, they really cut out some of the like weird stuff like that with keeping some of the really good stuff.
Okay, so I didn't see the first part of the OVA, but did they show that time that they fed a baby its own poop?
They did not.
Cowards. I mean, not really. There's a lot of like poop and fart stuff in this arc that I just absolutely find disgusting.
Which they keep the stuff with Iggy there for basically with the fight with it's Endul, I think.
Endul and Geb.
Yes. So that part that, the farting in the face is like, but that is like the one time they kind of show that about Iggy. Because mainly they kind of really cut to the chase with this one. And they cut out some things that if you are like me, got introduced to this through the fighting game, there are several people that do not show up at all. For example, the very notorious Pet Shop, the kind of evil bird, does not show up in this OVA at all.
Satan bird.
So, which unfortunately gives Iggy, or kind of robs Iggy of a chance to kind of show what he can do.
Yeah, and kind of he just ends up just sucks and then dies.
Yeah, like he saves Polnareff at one point, but that's about it. But yes, so that was just kind of a brief overview. Go ahead.
Really quick, going back to sucking and dying, the gore in this was surprisingly graphic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the thing that I like, because this was the first thing that I saw of Jojo, so I assumed that was just part of the thing. I'm like, oh, it's just a violent anime.
I mean,
it is, but the anime is like
anime is not as
censored to air on TV.
Yeah,
anime is really not that gory.
It's so censored that they even censored when Jotaro fucking lights a cigarette.
That's something.
Instead, there's just a black void.
Yeah. But yeah, this one's definitely a lot gorier than like you would imagine.
But once again, that's because the anime was airing on TV.
Yeah. But I don't remember the comic being that particularly bad.
I don't know specifically about part 3, but part 8, 7, and 8, boy, especially part 8 is kind of uncomfortable to read at sometimes in terms of like how you see people getting hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess before we kind of get a little bit more into it and we can kind of go on and more like specific tangents, I think we should just kind of get our general feelings about the OVA kind of out there. So Axe, what are your thoughts on watching this?
So I'll be honest that I'm not a big JoJo fan. I've watched all the way through Stardust Crusaders on the anime. I haven't seen any of the other seasons, but I won't lie. I actually would watch the remaining ones because I hear they're actually pretty decent. But we're talking about the OVA, and it's kind of good that I've seen the anime because I have a kind of like a point of reference to go against with the OVA. And I think the OVA for Stardust Crusaders, at least what we saw, was a lot better than the anime itself. There's way less pedophilia, way less baby infantilization, way less feeding said babies poop.
There was that time that Polnareff became a child.
Yeah, there's a lot less baby penis. There's a lot of
baby penis.
A lot of problematic stuff just cut out completely in favor of trying to tell like a decent story. Well, as decent a story as you can get with a JoJo.
Well, they had to pare it down for the OVA, and they just kind of cut a lot of the cruft, which was nice.
Right, but I mean, the point is that the really bad stuff gets cut out, and that's really what's important.
Yeah. Basically, both the greatest strength and the greatest weakness of the anime is that it is pretty close to the manga.
Yeah, that's like the worst. That's why Stardust Crusaders the longest part of the anime because they basically did every they took every fight and made it and put it in there.
It's even to the point where they will recreate shots from the manga.
Panel for like shot to shot from panel to panel, which there's a discussion to be had there about whether or not how that's a good or bad thing to be done in terms of an adaptation, but that's outside the scope of this.
I mean, I'll be honest, I hate Stardust Crusaders. I think it's a terrible arc, and I didn't like it at all. I actually preferred Battle Tendency, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, because Battle Tendency is better, but...
Yeah, Battle Tendency is my personal
There's
favorite,
a couple of questionable things in Battle Tendency, but it doesn't come close to the problems of Stardust Crusaders.
For those who are not familiar with JoJo's, Battle Tendency is 2?
Okay,
Yes,
Season 2.
It's
Or
Phantom
Arc 2.
Blood, then Battle Tendency, then Stardust Crusaders, then
Diamond is Unbreakable,
Diamond is Unbreakable,
Arroyo of Intro, Stone
otherwise known as
Ocean,
Gold Experience.
Golden Win, but
Golden Win, yeah. Who has
Stone
Gold
Ocean, Steel Ball Run, and the current one that's currently going on,
Oh no.
JoJolion. We're not going to talk about
God.
JoJolion. I may reference parts of Part 7 for comparison notes, but JoJolion's just... We can't talk about that one until it's complete, because then we may actually be able to understand it.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say it's a hot mess. Is all that needs to be said about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I honestly don't like this arc at all. But the OVA actually kind of packages the arc in a way that's viewable and enjoyable. It was done in '93, so and it very very much shows in the animation and quality of the animation. There is some ugly animation in this. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It gets kind of at points, but overall, I mean, it's still the more enjoyable parts of the arc. Particularly, I forget his name, the gambler.
Darby.
Darby.
I actually liked his character a lot. I found that section to be kind of amusing, especially how he manages to get out of the situation. How he wins is particularly amusing. But yeah, it's also, I was surprised at how violent it was comparing that again to the anime, where the anime was did not have a lot of gore, but the OVA had quite a bit of blood and gore going for it. So it was a bit striking, but again, it's not something that I would really hold against it. It's just I wasn't prepared for that. But other than that, I mean, no, I would say I agree. To watch JoJo, or watch the first season, the second season, the OVA over the third season anime, and then continue from there, because the OVA is just it packages it so much better.
Yeah, and that generally is what I have heard. Like, that is a very concurrent thing where basically, yeah, this is it's a lot of bullshit cut out into something that is actually very enjoyable to watch. So Carnival had to step up for a second. So let's
I'm
just okay. Carnival, what did you think of this?
Like we've discussed, this is the proper way to watch Part 3. Like, my personal favorite is Part 7, which I know is going to be a long time before that ever gets animated, because you gotta animate horses, and no one wants to do that. But it's good. Like, it's a good way of breaking it down into, here's the important fights, here's what people remember, which of Part 3, it's basically stands, but that because that's what goes on to define the rest of the series. The Darby conflict, and the Dio fight. That's everything. That's all you really need to know about Part 3, and then you can just move on to the rest of the series.
It's great. Fucking Dio's world is like the last hour and change, and that is far and away the best part of this entire fucking arc.
Yes. There is a very specific reason why that is the best one, because that is the one that has a very notable person associated with it. So Satoshi Kon worked on this, particularly the first part of the Dio's world thing, and when especially the bits where you see the like Dio's adventure with the senator. If you take a look at that senator's face, you could tell that is a Satoshi Kon drawn character. Which, if you're not familiar with who Satoshi Kon is, he is the writer and director of things like Perfect Blue, Paprika, Tokyo Godfathers,
Millennium Actress Girl.
Yeah, and
those are the big ones.
And also like Paranoid Agent.
Paranoid Agent, yes, was the anime.
Oh, he did Paranoid Agent. Okay.
Yeah.
The man's got a specific style.
He is incredibly good, and unfortunately no longer with us. But he did incredible work, and that particular segment's weird, but it's still enjoyable.
It's weird but it's also great because it highlights Dio as he is.
Yeah. So Carnival, did you have any other thoughts?
No, not for that question.
All right, Torpo. What do you think?
I made my thoughts clear on it before, but like I'm not a fan of part 3. I find it pretty boring personally. I don't like a lot of the main characters, and the one good main character was lifted from another arc and then made worse.
Yeah.
But honestly, I mean, I enjoyed what we watched at least. Like it was all right. It cut out a lot of the cruft, which is fine. It kept some of the more interesting fights, though it didn't keep Pet Shop, which is a shame. But overall, I think it's better for not having most of the stuff it did. And also, good focus on Dio's world, even if they didn't include the one incredibly iconic thing.
Roll.
Yeah, they switched the road roller for a tanker truck.
Yeah.
Oil tanker, yeah.
But it's still it's enjoyable. But Dio's world is unsurprisingly once again far and away the best part. Like, and it's the entire last hour 20.
It's the last 3 episodes, so it's probably an hour and a half.
Yeah, and it's the most enjoyable part. Everything else you could just fucking shove off a table, except Darby. Darby is good, but that's because Darby is just a lot of stupid fun.
Yeah.
Also pretty short. Yeah, and it's just like my thoughts have always been I find Jotaro a very boring character, like intensely boring.
Yeah, he is, because the joke that he was supposed to be a spoof on has passed so far past that it's not even, the joke isn't funny anymore without the context. And it's not a great joke even when you have it. So, for the benefit of the listener, Jotaro was based because during the time that Stardust Crusader, as it was being released, Heritage to the Future was its name, but there was the time where a lot of like very protagonists that were very just stoic, big, burly people that didn't like emote much. So the joke with Jotaro is that he thinks he emotes a lot more than he actually does, which that's what a lot of the humor is supposed to be based around his character. It's not a good joke in it by itself, and it's super not good this many years from when Stardust Crusaders has been released.
It also doesn't work in context because it's not written well enough.
No.
Like I didn't pick up any of that at all in the OVA.
Like again, that's what I mean. It was like I only knew that because I was just doing reading, and it's like, huh.
So yeah, another thing I will mention is Araki is not a good writer.
God, no.
He's made some good content, but he himself is not a good writer. He writes by the seat of his pants. Like he has even admitted it outright that he just kind of makes shit up as it happens.
He is admitted in his own book on his process, like, I don't plan any of this stuff out. I just think what sounds interesting. And it shows, like, that's why it shows in the weaker parts of especially part 5 for reasons that it's like, oh, I have written myself into a corner.
So is it King Crimson that he doesn't even know how how it works?
No, it's for Axe's sake, I'm not going to explain it just because they haven't gone through part 5, but part 5's ending is basically Araki has no idea what he's going on here and it's wild and it's amazing to see in motion, but it's
Yeah.
not good writing.
Araki is a master of writing himself into a corner, like Part 8.
Yeah, Part 8 is also, it's very much of, you have no idea where you're going with this, and it's,
Like,
but
I mean, just looking at the other seasons, like obviously season 1's going to be rough because it's the first season. It's just getting its legs, but it's still not very well written. Like if we go to like the anime, for example, like everything has to be explained five different ways to the viewer, which is a trope in anime that I really can't stand. Which is another reason why I like the OVA as much as I did. Is there's very little like expositing, like it was almost every single scene something would happen, and I understand what's happening, but then Joesph, I think.
I
I
think
it's usually
if it's Act 1, it's Jonathan.
well, yeah. In Act 1 is Jonathan, but I'm thinking of like Act 3.
okay,
the
so
old
yeah,
man is Joesph.
Old man's Joesph. So it's usually Joesph going, "Oh, let me explain the plot and the things that are happening right now." It's like I can see it with my eyes. Thank you. But you don't have that in the OVA. In fact, they did very little expositing. It's just like once they figured something out, they were like, "Oh, I figured it out. It's this," and then that's it. And they just go along with it. And
Well, it's
another
funny.
reason I like the OVA.
It's funny too because once again, I mentioned that they just made like Joesph much worse in Part 3. He's been taken down a peg in terms of strength, uh, and B, his personality has been kind of just like sanded away.
And they made
And it's
Polnareff a huge like dingus.
yeah, no, he's a huge dumbass and an asshole.
Like,
But like Joesph was so much better in his own part, and like he even exposited his own part, but that was in part to fuck with people, and it was
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. Like, for example, like his main like catchphrase is not even like in this at all. Like his
your
like
next words are.
yeah, that thing does not show up at all. No use of gratuitous English. That could be in the first part, but
Yeah, like, so, because I know for a fact there are parts of Part 3 where Joesph gets to be cool, but it's like those are in the tarot arc, and thus
Yeah,
not what we
it's
get to
also
see.
a shame because like against Darby was a fucking place where he should have shined. He was a master con artist, fucking absolute.
Well, no, that's it. Again, this is another thing about Araki not being a good writer, because we come around to we meet Darby's brother who has similar powers so we can have like Joesph do a cool con artist trick again. Because even Araki's like, "Ooh, I messed up on that. I need to fix this."
Yeah, because having Jotaro be the saving player in the Darby fight was actually kind of it didn't feel right because it felt like it didn't feel like Jotaro had the ability to really like con anybody, and yet somehow he manages to force Darby into folding.
Yeah, for reference, in Jotaro's case, in this, he was just bluffing the entire time. It wasn't actually like a good con. He was just bluffing.
Yeah, and it was a really
clue
bad.
what he was doing right.
It was a bad bluff too. It was one of the worst bluffs.
It's how I play fucking poker in video games. I just keep raising and raising until everyone backs out or I fail.
Yeah, like his entire plan hinged on him tricking Darby into freaking out and giving up, and it shouldn't have worked. Like it really shouldn't have. And it was not. And that part of the Darby thing wasn't as interesting because, like, I like you said, it should have been Joesph. It should have showcased Joesph and his abilities. He doesn't really shine at all in the OVA.
Now Joesph gets done so fucking dirty.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise I would say obviously Joesph gets done dirty. Polnareff is a fucking goober and an asshole. Kakyoin just stands there cool.
And gets murked.
Yep.
And gets murked so fucking hard because he was probably like one of the most likable characters in that group.
They didn't give him much to do either.
Well, Yeah, but that's more of a problem with the source material than anything on the
Yeah,
adaptation.
he gets
Yeah.
injured like right at the start, and then when he comes back, he basically doesn't do anything.
Yeah, he just kind of dies, and I guess helps them figure out the secret behind Dio's ability. But even
Yeah.
then,
And then Avdol also gets fucking murked, not once but twice.
Like, yeah, we don't
Get to see that axe in this, but yes, that happens.
yeah,
It's magical. It's because Avdol was also too competent for his own good.
Yes, Adol is far and away way too competent to be around.
the way he gets taken out kind of sucked too, to be honest.
Which
Yeah,
was
that was
saving Polnareff's dumbass.
Yeah, super sudden too. Like just all of a sudden, just that hole appears and he's gone.
I honestly
Yeah.
like it better in the OVA compared to the way he goes out in the anime and in the manga, personally. But
And then you have Iggy, who sucks. Just Iggy sucks. I can't stand the character. But at least Iggy only shows up to basically save Polnareff and die, and that's it. Like that's all Iggy's there for.
Yep.
God, it's a ride.
when do we do a game so we can do part 4 for the...
But yeah, no. So that's my issue. Is the main cast itself isn't great to begin with, and then a lot of the villains are not good. They're not good.
They don't have any presence. The voice casting for this part is just not great, but that's more of a sign of it. That's probably more of a sign of the times more than like
Yeah. Also,
any fault of the like product, I guess.
in the original material, not the OVA, thankfully, they cut out most of it except for one. There was a lot of farting and poop jokes, and also some real creepy shit too. And they got rid of most of that except for Iggy farting on Polnareff's face, which happens multiple times.
Yes.
And in general, Iggy is fucking incredibly unlikable, so I felt absolutely nothing when he got cut in two.
Yep.
He's also an ugly fucking dog, because Araki could not draw that dog for shit.
Yeah, especially since he kind of looks different depending upon the artist. But yeah, like they even like reference like, yeah, he's an ugly looking dog. He kind of is.
Also, Araki hates dogs. Not directly, but basically Araki's stance is that if you want to make a character look terrible, just have them kill an animal or abuse them. So this happens a lot.
Yeah, this
in
happens
this
a lot.
series.
I was gonna say, wasn't that like the like precipice, like wasn't that like the first thing that Dio did to Jonathan?
Yes,
Yeah,
he kills his dog.
He kills his dog in an oven.
It's oh god. Araki loves killing dogs.
Great.
But yeah, basically my point is like a lot of this arc is bland, but Dio's world is actually genuinely fun because things happen, and a lot of it happens. And also, Dio is a good villain who is wasted on not one but two of the worst arcs.
Yep.
Dio is a lot of fun as a villain because he is ridiculous and over the top and evil as hell. Also likes to fuck a lot, but
Look, that's part 5 and 6, and that becomes an issue.
And the other thing too with Dio is that he's just straight up unlikable. He's an awful person.
he's
Like he's
unlikable, but he has a lot of presence.
yeah. Like they don't try to make him like relatable. They don't try to like humanize him. No, he's just fucking evil. He's an evil, awful human being. Well, was a human being. He's a vampire now. He's a vampire now. But I mean, even when he was a human being, he was evil and awful, and nothing redeemable about him. And I kind of appreciate that because you know, I feel like lately there's just been too much of an influx of we need to make our villains relatable. We need to make them humanized. We need to like, you know, make them likable in some way. But it's just nice to see a villain that's just straight up a villain. They're just a bad guy.
Yeah, and once again, he is like pure ham, shitloads of presence. Like he is over the top, and it's so much. He's fun. He's a fun villain, and he's fun to hate. And it's great because he's in the two worst fucking arcs. And it sucks. It's really a shame. But even so, like he fucking carries that last arc of the season on his broad fucking shoulders.
And thick neck.
thick neck.
And getting back
Like-
to Araki's, writing style of just kind of writing out of his ass, the way that they defeat Dio is completely out of the ass. It is complete nonsense. That oh no, now he knows how to walk through stop time.
Yeah, it's a little bit like it's very like the really bad parts of like the thing that people make fun of DBZ is like, oh, it's an ever increasing power level that's like, oh, it's just now that I have access to this now, I guess. Like it's very much it's like, oh, I can do that. Just no problem. Just
So-
I can do it.
Araki does that literally every single arc.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he does
His
this all
power
the time.
escalation is terrible in every single one.
I honestly think the only arc that's actually good about power escalation is part 4. Part 4, and even then, part 4 is still bad about it.
No, it gets fucking ridiculous at the end, yeah.
But I think it's still better than like part 5, part 6, part 7, and part 8 is starting the power escalation. We just starting to see that escalation start to happen really bad. It ain't
Hell,
now.
Even parts 1 and 2 had that problem, which was fucking Dio was nigh undefeatable in part 1, and then in part 2, Joesph had to launch the villain into space because he literally could not handle him.
To be fair, that was I always read the ending of part 2 as more of, oh, this is just a nice coincidence, and I'm gonna pretend like I planned to annoy the villain.
No, exactly. Like, obviously, but my point is, like, the villain had to be launched into space because he could not be defeated.
But then, at least in part 3, Dio's power does have its limits, and Jotaro does learn ways around those limits, and does ultimately defeat him.
Yeah. Also, to be fair, one of the ways you could write it off is that Dio is actually aping the stands of the actual Joestars.
Yeah,
Because he has their abilities.
Yeah, because I've always interpreted the world stand is not that it actually stops time. It's just that it copies Joestar stands because Dio is a parasite upon that entire family. Because again, we don't see this because again, this is in the Terror arc and like stuff that we don't see necessarily in the early parts of the OVA, but Dio is able to use Joseph's Hermit Purple as well, which has the abilities of being, aside from being basically whips, being vines and whips, allows him to do
Divination. But yeah. And so you could write it off as that Dio actually had a guiding force from him from day one for the stand stuff, which he did, and once again you didn't see in this part of the OVA. Like, he had a woman guiding him, teaching about stands and all that, so he actually had time to learn and practice, whereas Jotaro has been working
Jotaro is
entirely off
learning
of instinct.
Yeah, literally off of instinct and going through learning this in 50 days because that's
Birth
the
by-
entirety.
birth- Trial by fire, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which again, this is all ex post facto, doesn't make the part better, but like, just this is
You
like,
could write it off in a way that's more meaningful, yeah.
yeah, like this is just what comes from, because even though Araki writes by the seat of his pants and makes things up, he's generally pretty okay about keeping continuity together, except for like the origin of what stands are. But that's like, that origin going back and forth and stuff doesn't actually change the events
Your
of the
battle
story.
spirit, except also it's from space.
Yes, and also the corpse of G.
Nope, don't. Shh. Please, that one hasn't come out in anime yet.
You're right.
So y'all are reading the manga.
Well, that's the only way you can get part 7 and 6, 7, and 8 are all. Well, yeah, 8 is currently running as a manga. 6 and 7 are finished, but the only way you can really get them are as in manga. And because 6, while David Production has said, yeah, it's probably in pre-production, if I last remember correctly, about part 6. The plague happened, so who knows when that will get out. And
Yeah, also, like, making JoJo's is a fucking undertaking.
yeah, it's very hard. And they've also said that part 7 is like, like I said before, we would have to draw. It's a horse race. We would have to draw horses. Horses suck to draw, and we're not going to use CGI because it wouldn't fit well with the rest of the art style.
Yeah, fucking there's not a animator alive who enjoys drawing horses and animating them. Because they're fucking weird. They move weird.
Also, horses suck. They're a
They
terrible
do.
animal.
I have had horses. I've had 2 horses and they suck real bad.
I've been around horses and I don't trust them. I don't trust them.
They are very dangerous creatures, if not like done with or like handled with care.
They're dangerous even if you handle them with care. They're just dangerous. And that's Christopher Reeves. They're fucking dangerous.
Oh,
I've been kicked by one.
Right.
I've been straight up kicked by one.
I bet it sucked.
It hurt, but luckily I was able to move back just in time, so it only like glanced me. But yeah, regardless, going all the way back, my point stands is that Dio is far better than this part, but he's also what makes this final arc, because if it wasn't for him, there's no real point in watching this, in my opinion. Because he's pure ham, and it's there's another complaint I have about this, which is the voice casting isn't great. It's not terrible, but it's not great, and the anime did the voice casting so much better. Oh my god. The Dio in the anime is so fucking good.
Yeah, and so is the Vanilla Ice in the anime.
So is the Joesph.
Rest in peace to the anime Joesph.
Yeah. But regardless, my point stands that like Dio is far and away the best part. And honestly, if you're to skip this part, at least watch Dio's World, because that is fun. That is a lot of fun. Stupid as hell, but fun.
But that's how I would characterize the entirety of the JoJo series. Is stupid as hell, but it can be fun at times.
Yeah.
Because it is, in all honesty, like just being completely honest here. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is fucking stupid.
It's completely insane.
Oh
it
yeah, no.
thrives on stupidity.
So the thing you may understand to some degree, but do not understand in its fullest, is that Araki has a problem with writing stand abilities, and they only get more insane as the series goes on. Like complete fucking nonsense.
Yeah.
I've heard some bits and pieces about King Crimson, and I'm curious.
Not even talking about King Crimson. I mean basic ass enemy stands.
Yeah.
Fucking like giant fucking list of how they work.
Like the dude who can take out your memories as open your head like a CD player and just take your CD brain.
What about fucking Green Day, which is that'll kill you based on your elevation?
Yeah. That's just a fight of the week. What other ones are just shoot,
There's so many.
There's so many. There's the one that turns you into paper.
Yeah. God, you mean the one gun coming out of the paper?
This is just reminding me of Power Rangers, and they had the one villain that would turn them into giant pachinko balls.
I'm sorry, you I hate that it's like they've done a plot like that so many times and across so many different years. It's like I have no idea which one you're referring to.
Yeah, I think it was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking of right now. It's just getting turned into giant pachinko balls.
There's so many, and so many of them are stupid. Oh, like the fucking the weird one that makes the baby.
Oh, like Set. That's it.
No, not Set. I'm talking. I think it's like part 5.
What's the ability?
Train.
Oh God, the train.
It's the one that like babies coming out of the back of people's heads or something like that.
Oh God, I know which one you're talking about, but I don't remember what part. But yeah.
So it's a Drakengard stand.
No, Drakengard's good. At least not the gameplay, but my point is, Araki's always had issues, and they shine in this. Boy howdy, this is some of the weakest. Will I say it's terrible or unwatchable? No, but it's definitely the weakest, one of the weakest at least among the series. It's kind of a shame.
Yeah.
Especially for a series that is generally carried so heavily by its characters, it's frustrating when the main characters are just kind of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like nobody really stands out. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Because it's like it's always like of the parts, the 2 parts that like I would say, yes, go read this directly would be part 4 and part 7. Because those are 2 examples of the best characterization that Araki has done. Especially part 7, which I think is probably his best work. But
I mean, even fucking part 2 Battle Tendency is carried by Joesph.
yes,
Battle Tendency has a lot of character, even if like I'd say there's only like one particular moment in Battle Tendency. It was kind of it was when he was spying on his mother, but he didn't realize that was his mother. Like that's as as that arc gets. It's so much more enjoyable. Well, okay, and also the Nazi
the
apology.
literal Nazi.
Yeah, the fact that he's best buds with a Nazi, that kind of, yeah. But aside from those 2 points, it's still, I think, a stronger arc than 3. And I do agree. I think the OVA actually does kind of neuter everybody's personalities in 3. Like watching the anime, everybody's a lot more animated. They talked a lot more. There's a lot more. I just don't know how to get around it. Personality to each character, whereas in the OVA, it just kind of felt like they all felt like the same character, really. Like,
Also, really quick, say what you will about Strauheim, but Araki did kill him off in the Battle of Stalingrad.
I mean, it's silver linings.
Silver line, little things.
I mean, also Strauheim also is the reason we had. Like, there's a lot of problems with Strauheim, but I do appreciate that it's like every time he shows up, he basically always makes the situation worse.
All he does is eat shit and die.
Which, is pretty much what Nazis should do. Eat shit and die. But yeah, no, 3 just feels like, it just feels weird kind of thinking back on it, how little characterization there is in the OVA. Aside from like Polnareff being a complete doofus and Iggy being basically super selfish. And that's kind of it.
I mean, that's part of that is just that's what happens when you're truncating. I don't know how many chapters that Stardust Crusaders ran, like, because again, the Stardust Crusaders of the anime, ran for like I think close to like 90 episodes.
I want to say that I think I just tabbed out of the page, but I believe that it was like anime episode like 24 to like 75. Like,
So
it was
yeah,
a lot.
Like Stardust Crusaders is the longest in the anime by far. It's not great that it is, but it's like you're going to get more characterization because you're going to be filling out that time.
Looks like it's 48 episodes.
So yeah.
So that's 2 cores.
Yep.
Yep,
Well, no, that's.
Well, no, each season got 2 cores because they broke Stardust Crusaders into 2 seasons for them getting to Egypt and then being in Egypt.
Yeah, front half and back half.
Mm-hmm.
I think they dedicated like 3 episodes to Dio's World.
They did.
Yeah. Which, good.
I mean, that's about the time that this got in the OVA, so.
And we didn't have Whole Horse.
Is good.
I was very happy with the distinct lack of Whole Horse.
Well, if you watch the whole OVA, he's in there. Like, I think in like 2 or 3 episodes.
I mean, Whole Horse is probably one of the more enjoyable villains in this arc that aren't Dio, though.
I just didn't like him.
That's fair. I mean, he's done better. His power is given a much better version in part 5, and it's like good.
Particularly because like he later teams up with that kid who has the book that tells the future. Like it felt so shoehorned in. I know we're talking about the anime now, but just like that whole like just whole Horse in general seemed like he could have been an okay villain, but felt like he wasn't used to his full potential.
Could have been okay, but usually reduced to a bit player.
Yeah. And then when they paired him up with the kid with the book, that just kind of clinched it for me. That was like, yeah, no, I don't like this villain at all. He sucks. Because the kid with the book was also really annoying, and I just didn't like those episodes either.
Thankfully, we didn't have to deal with the Tarot arc.
Yeah.
There was a lot of dumb garbage in the gods as well, but like we missed most of that too.
Yeah, they took out I think it was the 9 Egyptian gods.
The 9 glory gods, which again, they're like we got the one that was we got 2 that were at least interesting fights, which was Darby and Geb. Like Indul's fight, even though it introduces Iggy, I still think is probably one of the more entertaining fights in how it resolves.
Either way, my point is this part's pretty weak.
Yeah, it's not the strongest.
Yeah. Yeah. I generally thought that the OVA was okay. Like, it wasn't bad, but it's still an interesting watch. I know we kind of covered a lot. Did anyone else have any other points they wanted to bring up?
I think I got everything out.
Yeah, same. I think we covered everything.
Whatever happened to Star Platinum thing?
Thing that happens to all of Araki's ideas that don't seem useful after Araki just forgot.
All right. So I think at that point we can probably rank this now. So
Okay.
Yeah, because it's like
Running out of steam here.
yeah,
We're starting to go in circles at this point.
yeah. So we are going to rank this using a normal 1 to 21 scale, with 1 being absolute mastercraft, 21 being absolute garbage, not even fun, ironically, to watch. Sucks. What were you thinking?
I mean, it's an average. It's an average OVA. It's an average arc. It's. I'd say it's about 11 to 13.
All right. Carnival.
I think I would have probably put it between 9 and 11. So
All right. 9/11.
Don't say it like that.
Remember 9/11?
Between the
forget.
numbers 9 and the number 11. Torpo.
just for apropos of nothing. 9/11. Just nod.
Lola, why are you looking so down?
9/11.
Never forget. Is it cursed that I just think of the fucking dumb mistakes in the miracles images every time? I think I'm broken.
It's okay to be broken, Torp. That's what makes you you.
I'm fucking broken as shit.
We're all a little broken.
That said, I would say 10 or 11. I would definitely not put this at or below Street Fighter live action. But also, I definitely wouldn't put this over like fucking Mega Man.
All right. So if I
or
look,
Pirates of Dark Water.
if I look at our range, we got because honestly, I was between, like, I don't know, 9 and maybe 12. So I feel like a number that shows up frequently in this is 11. So we can probably start there and then move on.
see, I would rather watch this more than either of the things at 11. Like, by hands down.
Honestly, yeah, but that's also personal taste on my part.
True.
I should probably open up the list, shouldn't I? 11. What do we have at 11? We've got Little Nemo and a boy named Charlie Brown.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I'd maybe watch this a little bit more than those.
So 10, Wizardry and Nickelodeon Guts.
Yeah, that feels good. I definitely feel like this is. I think it's fair to put this at the same at 10, even if I would for the record, I would say that this is a much better OVA than the Wizardry one.
Yeah, actually, because now that I think about it, I do kind of feel the same way watching this that I had Wizardry, because it's like there isn't really anything bad going on, but it's also not as super interesting.
Not gonna knock your socks off.
Yeah, like I feel good putting it in the same area, but I would just wanted to put that out there on the record as like, this is, while it is in the same area, this is a better OVA.
Because looking at the stuff,
part of the thing about the Wizardry OVA was its like intense dedication to its source material.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, another way to look at it is looking at the stuff in 9. Because in 9 you have Tron, East 2, Pirates of Dark Water, Flash Gordon, Sonic the Hedgehog, the OVA, and Mega Man Season 1, which I actually kind of would rather watch those than this.
Yeah.
No, that's what I said. Like, I would rather watch this. I would rather watch Mega Man over this, but also this over Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Which we need to do that animated series at some point.
Oh god.
There's a lot of animated series we need to do.
Sit through all of it. So fuck you, Carnival.
I know you did, but that's another story.
Yeah. All right, let's
Things
just put
I
this
do
at
for
10
love.
then. God. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. At 10 OVA. Oh, what episode is this? This is episode 68.
Damn, we're so close.
Yes, we are so close. This
Wait.
came out in 1993. Multiple directors. This was an OVA. OVA. Show and action.
Action.
It is
Action.
action as fuck.
Tone is cool.
Cool as shit.
Yeah.
Let's see, content, gore, plus question mark.
It was mostly just blood.
Yeah,
like
I
you
was
didn't see
just-
organs.
There was some
There's
dismemberment.
this
though.
dismemberment.
Yeah, there's
though.
Yeah,
clear-
yeah, I'll give you that. Iggy's death.
So I
kinda-
think there was
yeah.
like one scene where a dude got fucking
It's
completely wrecked.
it's when Dio chucks the senator.
Yeah, that one's a rough one. The fucking fastball special. It's like you see him gearing up for it. It's like hell yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, the thing that I'd also point out is that a lot of it's really sudden too. So it's not like, oh, I can tell that this scene's going to be gory, so it's going to be, I can look away. No,
Yeah.
it's a lot of it. It's just right in your
You
face.
mean like Avdol pushing Polnareff out of the way, and all of a sudden there's a giant hole there, and his limbs are flying in the air? Yeah.
Yes. All right. So, is there anything we want to call out for music, charm, cinematography, storytelling, action, and art?
I mean, we gotta
Also,
call it the action for that final animation in the fight.
Yeah, I think the
Also-
action's pretty good.
Axe, I will say, it probably like had to do heavily with who was the animation director at the time,
Mhm.
because the amount of gore definitely varied from part to part.
I wouldn't say anything for the music because I don't even remember the music.
Yeah,
Like
it
it was
was-
neat.
Like, no,
barely
because
in
the
there.
the actual thing, like, that's one thing. Is like, I mean, all of the parts. Well, part 2 onward for the anime is really good, but like, just since they've consistently just had Yugo Kanno do the music for the anime, it's just been nice, especially with just the continuation of the same leitmotif for the Joestar family, in just how
So
they.
good.
It's so good, just in how
It's
it
such good work.
and just how it changes based on each individual character. It's like, I want to see Jolene's version of the family theme. Come on.
There are JoJo soundtracks on Spotify, and it's great.
I wouldn't say there's anything for charm either because it loses a lot of the charm that.
No,
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
100% one of those
I-
parts I would say is completely devoid.
Yeah, like I'd say, just it's the action, but otherwise, I don't think we can really say too much more about it.
Also, like, cinematography is one that's kind of hard to describe because projects like these have a bunch of animation directors, like various people handing keyframes for given parts. And so, like, some people are really, really good. Some are okay. Not bad. Nothing about the animation this was bad, I will say. Nothing about it was bad. It's just sometimes it was pretty good. Other times it was okay. But yeah, so it's frustrating because, like, there are large chunks of Dio's world that are really well shot, in my opinion. But also, it's like hard to say that about the overall product.
Give it a shrug.
yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking.
Satoshi Kon was a fucking masterful motherfucker.
Yeah,
Like, the way it was shot when the senator was trying to run out of the car and back into the car was incredible. Like, it was such a good showing.
do we want to give anything for the art itself?
I would
No.
say, I would
I
say
think
no.
that's, yeah, I was gonna say that'd probably be at best like another shrug, but
Like, Araki, I'll even say, I don't think Araki's art really gets good until the later parts of part 4.
to be fair, they also don't have as much of a budget as David Production did.
I know.
And
like,
again, this is 93.
That's my point, though. Is like it wasn't like super high budget or anything either, so it's not like you were gonna get anything particularly like intense.
Oh, I was just meaning, like, Araki's art style in general I don't think it doesn't get good until, like super, like,
Yes, when everyone gets fuller lips.
I didn't notice that. You're right.
Yeah, everyone's got them plump, kissable lips.
Hmm.
Who's the
It's a way to
Joker
work-
you want to smooch most?
It's a way to word it.
Insert an image of that one fan, the one fan talking to Araki about Jotaro, and
Yeah, the vocalist for the fucking opening of Gurren Lagann, who's so obsessed with Jotaro when she did an interview with Araki, she actually weirded him the fuck out.
never before has I've seen that face of just like, please, God, get me out of here.
What have I created?
I hate my fan base.
Is there anything we want to call up for yay or nay?
It's long. I know it's a 13-part OVA, but god damn, it's long. It feels so long.
And I do feel like the length actually kind of hurts it a little bit because it's trying to speed up some spots, but granted the parts that it's sped up. Like they didn't need to cut up Pet Shop, but granted they could have. It was fine for them to cut out strength. Mostly.
Yeah.
Also death.
Yes, also
That
death.
was a good one for cutting out. Also rest in peace, Oingo and Boingo.
Yeah. And is it Midler is Midler the game exclusive one? Because
Midler's the game exclusive one that they got Araki to do a
Mariah.
drawing for, because Mariah had a face in the show. We only see Midler. We only know of Midler because she was attacking with High Priestess.
Oh, okay.
And it's just that Araki, they were like, we need another character for the design. Hey, can you draw us one for the fighting game? And Araki's like, yeah, and that's how we got Midler's design.
Okay.
Also, she really wanted to. God. Either way, yeah, no, it's I'm trying to figure out looking at these.
I can't really think of anything else.
No.
Yeah, like the problem is I can't say very boring because Dio's world is in there, but otherwise.
Here, I found the image.
Even the vanilla ice fight is pretty enjoyable.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Might just be go to flanks.
Everyone is an idiot.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah, let me get
like that first scene with Kakyoin getting his face torn to shit. He just stands and he just stares at it the whole time before getting his shit wrecked. It's like, come on, man, get away from it.
I think that at that point, I think that's probably good for this.
Yeah.
All right, so there we have done something JoJo's Bizarre Adventure related.
Now I can lobby to try and get some of the other parts, because those are actually good.
Great. All right, well, that's enough JoJo's for now. So before we head out and talk about what we're doing next, X, is there anything you want to plug?
Yeah, the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. It's a fantastic place by people with autism for people with autism. They've got resources there for people who would like to live a more stable and independent life.
All right, Carnival.
Just your local bail fund or mutual aid fund, because there's always work to be done, even in this horrible timeline we exist in.
All right, Torpo. What's your stream, Torpo?
I will fucking body slam you into a wall, Lola. I will huck you into the goddamn garbage. Fuck
Call
you.
the fuck out.
Twitch.tv/TorpidTypist. Fuckface TorpidTypist on Twitter, asshole. I like to plug the hole I'm gonna leave in fucking Lolo.
All right. You know what also would be great, because then I get the holes plugged into me, but then I get a new cybernetic body, and I turn into something akin to the next movie, the episode 69, turn into Robo Lolo, because we're taking a look at
Lolo Cop would probably sound better, but
Lolo Cop actually does sound better. But yes, we're doing RoboCop next week, and I'm super excited.
We're gonna see a guy get shot in the dick.
Yep, and that is going to be the thumbnail.
That's gonna be
The greatest image on the internet of Frank Welker standing next, Peter Cullen.
Yeah,
Peter Cullen.
Frank
Frank
Welker. Peter Cullen is Optimus Prime.
Okay. Yes. Dude who plays RoboCop standing next to someone wearing a shirt that says, "You remember when RoboCop shot that dude in the dick," and him having the time of his life.
It's so good.
I thought Frank Welker does the voice of Scooby Doo.
Frank Welker is okay. You know what? IMDb, because it's the
No, Val Kilmer, I thought. No,
Isn't
wait.
it Peter Wells?
Peter Wells, that's it.
Peter Weller. It is Peter Weller is the actor who plays
So
RoboCop.
you're all fucking wrong. Congrats.
I was the closest. Fuck all of you.
It's not the same.
I was off by 2 letters. Shut up.
All right, we're doing RoboCop next week. Have a good night.
For episode 69. All right.
Nice.
If you would like to look at the full list of rankings for yourself, please visit r3.ldp.life and go to the Media Delta List tab. If you would like to watch Media Delta's sister show, Retro Rank Rhapsody, you can either watch at youtube.ldp.life or by tuning into twitch.tv/LoadedPuzzlo at 7:30 p.m. on Fridays, 2:30 p.m. on Saturdays, and 1 p.m. on Sundays. All those times are from the Eastern U.S. time zone. If you would like to discuss this episode with the community, you can do so by joining our Discord server, which you can do so by going to discord.ldp.life. Thank you again for listening, and I hope you tune in for our next episode.